We're going to do a review of the Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor Roadhouse.
I have
And
a lot to say about this.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
But
So
the interesting thing I forgive me, audience, I didn't watch the original Roadhouse.
So
Okay.
in preparation for this coming out on Thursday, last Thursday, I guess, as of recording this and it coming out, I watched the Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze's again because it's on Max right now, and it's a good time. It's a great time.
Wait,
It's
I'm
so
sorry.
cheesy, but it's a great time.
Joe, you haven't seen the original Roadhouse?
Nope, I sure haven't. But I understand the premise.
No, you
Mm.
don't.
No, you don't.
All right, fine. I don't. But that doesn't matter. We're talking about
Does
this
matter.
new Roadhouse remake that's kind of a remix version of it, okay? We're not reviewing the original Roadhouse. We're reviewing
You're right.
this one.
Yes.
So, interesting thing about this is they end the story with Dalton being not a hero, but also not a villain, right?
Mm.
And he rolling your eyes. All right, let's go through it. Overall, 1 out of 10. Wyatt?
5?
2.
No.
I gave it a
Yes.
5 as well.
A 5. There was things that I really liked in it. I liked Jake Gyllenhaal and his acting, but I didn't like, and I know what they were doing with the story of, just as a broad thing, spoilers for anybody. It's clear what this movie's about, but so the original was, Patrick Swayze's character was almost a professional bouncer / club promoter.
He was a fixer.
Yeah, he was a fixer.
Yeah.
Then. And in this, it was like Jake Gyllenhaal's a fighter, and then because he's good at fighting, they brought him in as a bouncer. And it was like, yeah, but he has no experience with clubs and bars and that. And so it was almost a different story in that regard, but then yet the same story.
There was a very clear difference between the two Daltons, where, you know, the original Dalton, he goes into the Roadhouse, which in the original is called the Double Deuce.
Yep.
And not only does he work on the keeping the bad elements out, he forces the bad elements out of the bar itself. So
yeah, like he fires a bunch of people,
and he fires a bunch of people.
Well, not a bunch. He fires like 4 people, but yeah.
In this, they're kind of like the Roadhouse is perfect, and all of the issues is everybody else.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so is it a problem if you're doing a new story, a new take on Roadhouse? It's not like Roadhouse is a novel.
No.
Is it a problem that they did a different version of Roadhouse here?
It's not a problem. Okay, so it's not a problem that they do a different version of Dalton. This Dalton, I like what they were going with, is like he's got these issues. He's afraid of his own
capabilities.
He's suicidal. And he keeps this kind of happy-go-lucky feel about his whole personality. He's a pushover to the point of, in regular conversations, he's a pushover.
Sure.
Because he knows what he's capable of, and he doesn't want to be that person. There's nothing wrong with the writing of that character. It's the execution that was the issue.
Yeah. So overall, that's why I'm giving it a 5. Because like I kind of liked the new spin. I even liked that it was in Key West. The tropical element of things gave it a new vibe. And
yeah, the Florida vibe was fun.
We don't see that a lot. But then there's some small things that I don't like. And the funniest thing, I just want to acknowledge this because this made me laugh so hard. The guy picks up his phone, the bad guy, at one point, and his caller ID says dad. And he answers it, and it's the prison. It says, "Do you want to accept this call from the prison?" And so why does he have his dad caller ID? He has the prison
The
as his
prison
dad
as caller ID for
or
his
as
dad.
dad on his phone, which is the
Yeah.
funniest thing.
So
Let's just say this:
let me
Conor McGregor was so silly.
He was
Not a good
Yes.
actor,
No.
and
just
he was
warming up.
so silly in
He
this
was this
character.
the whole
Let
It
time.
me-
This was
almost
his
look.
character.
Someone put it this way, and I actually kind of agree. It is so bad. Conor McGregor is so bad and so silly and so cringy on screen.
Mhm.
It's almost fun.
It's almost fun. Yeah, it is. So let me get let me there's a lot. There's a reason I gave it a 2
Yeah.
is because there's a lot of issues I have, and the primary one is dialogue.
Right.
Dialogue is this movie's biggest shortcoming.
Yeah.
It's as if the writers thought in every scene that they were doing something clever with the dialogue. It was as if they were trying to write casual conversation, but that's not how movie writing works. You don't write as if they're talking like we talk every day. You write dialogue in a manner that is for movies, and then the actors themselves turn it into believable dialogue.
So
Right.
I'm not pushing back from that. I would agree the dialogue was
Mm.
not great, but also like Jake Gyllenhaal was the only, I'm gonna put this in quotes, actor in this movie. Everybody else was, Conor McGregor. He's not an actor. He's
Mm.
not traditionally been on screen doing these acting roles for years, so he's not perfected that. Even like there was quite a few I noticed. Early, not quite a few. There was a couple UFC fighters in this movie, and so like a lot of this was kind of UFC, kind of that side of, I guess, business. Kind of it's almost like they said, let's make a movie, and that's what this is. So they're
Yeah,
not actors. Not a lot of actors except for Jake Gyllenhaal in this.
the only other person who delivered their lines, I think, with any bit of like believability was Mo. The guy, the comedy relief villain boy who gets his arm broken in the beginning.
Right.
He delivers his comedy lines very well. Frankie, the owner of the Roadhouse, delivers her lines pretty well.
I also liked the younger bouncer kid.
Yeah, Billy. Billy was all right.
He was a good. I've seen him in a few things. I don't know what exactly, but I've definitely seen him act before.
Billy has a dark. It was hard for me to look at him as an actor because he kind of in season 4.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a weird freaking character.
Oh.
It really put a
But
bad taste in my mouth.
He was
so
good in this movie.
ultimately, the story is about Dalton in the end kind of losing it and becoming that person that he doesn't want to be in order to save people.
Mhm.
Even in the original, even with the town in danger, even with the girl he loves in danger,
Mhm.
Dalton decides it's not worth becoming that person, and so he decides to leave. What makes him stay isn't the kidnapping of the girl. It's that they kill his best friend and mentor. And in this movie, there is no point where he has that really big thing where somebody dies.
Yeah.
He goes straight to murdering people and framing cops and stealing money and blowing up boats, and without that conflict, which I feel like the movie really needed. I think, personally, had Brandt killed Billy or the dad of the little girl,
Yeah.
that would have been
worked.
enough. Yeah. The reason he comes back is because they blow up the bookstore,
Yeah,
or
the
they burn
bookstore.
down the bookstore, but nobody died.
No.
Nobody that he's close to in the Roadhouse,
Charlie
the
and her dad.
bouncers, the little girl, nobody dies.
Either that or the younger bouncer kid maybe dies. I don't know.
That's what I was saying. Billy, yeah, Billy
Billy.
should have died. Billy, if they had killed Billy, because Billy was a nice kid,
Mhm.
because he was learning more techniques from Dalton. There really should have been a good conflict in there, and they failed on accounts of storytelling,
Yeah.
on accounts of dialogue, on counts
Okay.
of character development.
So as far as just an action movie, though,
It was
I
fun.
think it could be enjoyed and it'd be
Yeah.
fun.
No, it was
If you don't
fun.
come at it, if you don't come at
It
it
was
with
fun.
expectations from the original or intelligent dialogue, but you say this is going to be an action film that has Conor McGregor acting really silly.
Yeah.
He's a loose cannon, and Dalton, who's um, a brooding badass, basically. I think you could have fun with this movie,
I
right?
I would definitely watch it again because
Wyatt says
it
no.
just no.
No, I wouldn't watch
I
this
wouldn't
movie
watch it again for like, oh, that was a great movie. I would watch it again if someone else was about to be like, I haven't seen this. I want to watch it, and I'll be like, okay, let's watch it. You know?
Yeah,
um,
I don't know that there was the the idea is fun. The execution was so poor that I have such an issue with the writing. You can write good dialogue. It's not hard. The premise was there. It was already there with the original. But they stripped Dalton of so many characteristics from the original to make him more unique that he didn't have enough personality. His personality was I'm nice so that I'm not mean. And I don't know.
Well, the writers is Anthony Bagarazzi,
Mhm.
Chuck Mundry, and R. Lance Hill. So the director Doug Liman wasn't apparently on the writers credits.
Mhm.
So, but he directed it. And I think
Mhm.
directing wise, if you were to take bad dialogue and make a movie, I mean, he
Mhm.
did the
Mhm.
Bourne movies, which are
Another issue, the other biggest issue that I had, the love interest is a horrible character.
what are you
Oh,
talking about?
the
Mhm.
nurse,
Why is she a horrible character?
she's rude at every turn. She's confrontational. She's she just is there's nothing about her that made me like I really kind of like her. She's really
Well, she's
interesting and
hardened.
that's no, she's rude. Dalton's hardened, but he's kind. She's mean. She's confrontational. There's nothing about her that is redeeming in her kindness or anything. The
Why?
girl in the original, she grew up in the
Ellie.
town. She had to
Yeah.
deal with a lot of this rough stuff, but she's kind and she's
I'm
caring.
I'm curious. So in the original, the main bad guy was her ex-husband, and
Hmm.
in this one, they added this. I guess her tie-in was like her dad was the cop,
Hmm.
um, but she also had this cop boyfriend that didn't. Um,
Eh,
what was the point of that character except
he had a
for
boat.
yeah, he had a
Because he
boat.
had the boat.
They could have come up with some kind of other reasoning why that there was a boat there and
But
not that, oh, just he has a boat. Then what was that?
But they didn't have him and Dalton and Ellie didn't have any chemistry. He had chemistry with Frankie, the bar owner. They had
Yeah.
serious just conversations and good chemistry with each other.
Or
Um,
even, and this character is in the original, I'm losing her mind, but the bartender lady.
yeah,
You're
They
but
could
losing
have,
her
she was
mind.
annoying too because he the first thing he says is, "You guys got black coffee?" She's like, "No, we have Cuban
yeah.
coffee." Dude,
Well,
That
shut
was
up.
that was cringy. Her name was
That was
Laura.
awful. I hated that.
but her character was, that character wasn't original too, of like, she brought him food and stuff too. She kind of became this
Yeah,
friend.
All
But
right, you guys got to stop going back to the original.
we
Freaking,
are
we're
comparing
supposed to
No,
be
no, no. You
original.
have to go
We
back to
have
the original
to.
because this is a remake
This is
of
a
the
You're
different
original.
just
movie.
upset you've
No, it
not
is not.
seen it.
His name is Dalton. It's
Yes.
called the Roadhouse. The
Yeah.
names of the characters are in there. They're pulling their source material is the original movie, and they can't even do that correctly.
A lot
Everything,
of the dialogue was very similar too. They
yeah,
literally pulled from the original. Like
and
when he said, when the nurse lady, the love interest, says, do you ever
Ellie.
win in a fight? Here, and he says, like, no, nobody ever wins in a fight. That's a line literally from the original movie. That's Patrick
Yeah.
Swayze's line.
And the exposition dumps, man, when like he kills that guy by punching him in the throat, and he's like, now I'm mad and I never wanted to become this person because now I'm going goblin mode. And
That
Well, at
feels
least they
shady,
did it.
though.
They did it while a
That's
dude is
done.
dying. I
He-
think the worst exposition dump was Ellie explaining the situation when they're in the car.
yeah,
Like, my dad is a corrupt cop.
my dad is a
and-
corrupt cop, and I have had to grow up with this, and you can
And I
barely
left,
understand
but I
what she's
came
saying
back.
because of her accent. And
That was
or,
the worst exposition.
We're like,
dump.
oh, it's a roadhouse. We call it the roadhouse because it's a roadhouse,
Clever.
right? And the only thing that made, they said roadhouse so many times. The
Mhm.
only thing that made that scene redeemable was she's like, you can stay on my uncle's boat. Warning, he also named the boat, and then it's called the boat. That's the only thing that made that scene redeemable, is how many times they say roadhouse and talk about roadhouse and why it's called the roadhouse.
Freaking, what do you guys think about Dell getting eaten by the alligator?
I really actually thought that was going to come around in the end, because they mentioned so many times how crocodiles hide their food.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, Conor McGregor is absolutely getting murked by a crocodile.
No, but did you guys see after the credits?
I didn't know. I didn't.
Okay, so Conor McGregor doesn't die. The end of
No.
the end of the credits is at the hospital. He like is beating people up, and he's like in a gown, and he does his little arms out walk in a hospital gown with his butt out, just leaving the hospital. So he doesn't die from his wounds. He just gets out of bed and
this
runs
movie
away.
was rated R, but all I think it was rated R for was his butt.
Language in his butt.
There was a lot of violence too.
There's a lot of
and
violence.
cussing.
Yeah, language. That was a big part.
Dude, they really think that when people shout at each other and are hurt, they swear. The swearing felt really corny. But no, I thought the crocodile thing was going to come back around, because they kept saying crocodiles hide their food, and he's like, does everybody know that crocodiles hide their food around here? I thought that either the crocodile was going to get Brant, or Jake Gyllenhaal becomes the crocodile.
Oh, like a almost like a freaking
like they're like
an analogy.
No, like
what is the word for that?
The villains start disappearing,
Like he's the crocodile,
and then somebody's like, yeah, crocodiles hide their food. And I thought
missed opportunity for the
but
writers.
no, he was
Maybe
the
they
tree.
did subtly.
He was the tree that grows on the bridge.
So I have a question for you guys. So this movie was taken out of theaters, and it's kind of been the controversy around this when Amazon Prime promised this movie to go to theaters, to the director and to Jake, and then they finagled against that because they wanted to put it on their own platform. Do you think you would pay, let's not say a full movie ticket. Well, actually, yeah, it's a movie ticket price. Would you pay a movie ticket price to go see this?
I would have. And I
probably
honestly
would
think
have
it would be
like
$12.
Look,
but I would
I
have
probably
been sorely disappointed that I wasted my money.
Look, I think this movie would have been a tad bit more fun in the theaters. I think the action of it, I think it would have come across well in theaters. And the sound mixing and everything. I think there are levels to the sound mixing that we just didn't pick up on. That's super cool in the movie.
I agree.
Because
everything looked good. Like
yeah,
very clear. The visuals look very good.
So I think it would have been a fun theater movie, but it was meant to be theaters, and it was meant to. Doug Liman called it. This is a party movie. Like this movie is supposed to be a party, and so if you watched it in theaters and the action came across well with the sound and the big visuals and everything, maybe it would have felt more like a party. It wasn't taking itself too seriously, but. I mean, you got people like Wyatt that's like, this has to be a serious movie.
No, it doesn't have to be a serious movie. It has to be, you have to take the content, you have to take what you are doing seriously. Whether you're writing a comedy or a romance, you have to take what you're doing seriously and write good characters and good dialogue and good story. you really they just didn't do any of that. About the middle of the second act, I was like, this is still all right. This is still okay. But then it gets into the end of the movie, and honestly, when I first watched the original Roadhouse, the third act of the movie is where it fell apart for me. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. So it's
I
on
didn't
par
want
with
this
the
to
original.
become an action movie. But it did, and I was disappointed in that when I watched it. This one does the same thing, except it's bad from the beginning as well.
No,
So,
I'm disagreeing with Wyatt on this. I'm gonna be the other
all
end
right,
of the
we
argument.
do got to move on. So hurry up and finish up your
Okay,
thoughts.
I'm gonna say that although it was not a perfect movie, and I'm not giving it anything over a 5 out of 10,
Mm.
I'm still giving it a 5 out of 10 because there was things that I kind of liked in it, and they weren't great things; they were just fun things.
Yeah, but for me, things I kind of like isn't enough to make a movie good.
I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying it was a 5 out of 10. I'm not saying it was a 7 out of 10.
So that's a bad movie.
No, because you said it was a 2
Yeah.
or 3.
Yeah. No, that's a bad movie.
It was a 5 out of 10, and I disagree.
I mean, there's things I like in The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
You know, there's things I like in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but they're still bad shows. It's not a good movie, and it's
All right.
it's disappointing.
Yeah, you're right. It is definitely disappointing because you want a movie like this to be like an 8. Make it fun, make it
Yeah.
awesome, like, Top Gun Maverick was.
Top Gun Maverick.
But
Come
it
away
just
for
wasn't,
something. Bullet Train.
and you put it at a 2. Me and Josh will put it at a 5, and we'll sit there comfortably.